President Trump announced that U.S. military forces had conducted a strike against narco-terrorists who were reportedly transporting illegal narcotics in a cartel boat that was traveling from Venezuela in the Southern Caribbean. President Trump said 11 were killed in that strike and that they were positively identified as narco-terrorists. They were, according to him, part of the Trinidad Aragua, a group, a transnational criminal organization from Venezuela. By the way, that is a group that the U.S. designated as a foreign terrorist organization earlier this year. Well, the president told reporters that there will be more strikes as the U.S. goes on the offense against these drug cartels. So what might this mean for the war on drugs? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Congressman Brad Knott. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee, and he represents North Carolina's 13th Congressional District. Congressman Knott, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Jody, it's great to be with you.
All right. Look, the way, what paved all of this, let me put it this way, for this to take place was the State Department's decision last February, as I mentioned, to designate 8 cartels and the transnational organizations, but to designate these as foreign terrorist organizations. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that America has to start treating these drug cartels as armed terrorist organizations, not simply as drug dealing organizations. So what's your take on that?
I fully agree with Secretary Rubio, Jody. I mean, when you look at the scale of America's pain and the harm that we have suffered because of these transnational organizations and terrorist organizations, it's really hard to quantify it. I mean, in the year 1990, just to put this into perspective, guess how many Americans died from overdosing on drugs? It was around 5,000. Since the year 2000, almost 1.5 million Americans have died from overdosing on drugs. The scale it's incalculable. And these organizations are either directly sponsored by various states like Trinidad Aragua and Venezuela, or they are indirectly sponsored because of all of the financial benefits that come to these states from American largesse, American dollars. And when you deal with this type of sophistication, hundreds of billions of dollars a year make up the international drug trade, you must take them seriously. And playing defense here on our own soil, it's not as effective as it needs to be. And going on offense is a needed step, and I fully support the government doing it.
Well, those are stunning figures that you gave. So what would you say to those who were against or are against the strikes that the U.S. put forth yesterday?
Yeah, to anyone who is against the president taking the fight to Trinidad Aragua or the Sinaloas or any other cartel that is poisoning and corrupting the American citizenry, they need to take the shades off their eyes and again realize how grave this threat is. These terrorist organizations, these narco-terrorists, these cartel members, they're not just drug traffickers. They're human traffickers. They defraud the country. They work to undermine our sovereignty. I mean, Judge Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, she just announced 360,000 pounds of precursor chemicals were seized at a port in Texas. That kind of scale is staggering. I mean, millions of Americans are affected every year because of the efforts of these organizations, and taking it to them, taking the fight to these organizations is essential to protect our country.
Yeah, I wonder if those who are opposed to the idea of striking these cartels like that, I wonder if they would be in opposition if it were, say, Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Hezbollah or something along those lines with a boatload of chemical weapons, because virtually we're talking the same kind of thing, aren't we? Yes.
That boat was filled with poison that is designed to kill, it's designed to produce addiction. The drugs that come into this country, they take lives, they take communities, they degrade families. It's really inhumane. And you hit the nail on the head, Jody. It's as though they're taking a chemical bomb in their boat. And I will say this, if the president took out Al-Qaeda, some Democrats would probably be against it. Anything he does, especially as it relates to the immigration enforcement or to the drug trafficking attacks that we're dealing with, they're against it, and they're in lockstep against anything this president does. So again, I applaud the president for going on offense here, and candidly, I think we're overdue for it.
Well, putting all this together, prior to serving in Congress, you actually personally worked very closely alongside law enforcement at all levels to prosecute organized crime. So this is something that's very near and dear to your heart. I mean, you have seen firsthand how harmful policies and weak law enforcement literally, as you just said, wound communities all over the country. And this had a lot to do with you even running for Congress to begin with, didn't it?
100%. What I saw as a federal prosecutor, I had cases that touched just about every corner of the country. And every community is affected by these narco-terrorists, these transnational organizations. And it is, again, I applaud the president. Taking this threat seriously, taking the fight to them, it will only strengthen our country. And again, I just go back to that fact. Almost 1.5 million Americans in 25 years. We cannot continue to use the same tactics that are obviously ineffective. And taking the fight to the narco-terrorists on their own soil, wherever they operate, that will better enable us to fight what is killing this country. And again, I stand in lockstep with the president in doing it.
All right, let me switch gears with you real quickly, and then I'm going to have to run to my next guest. But a divided federal appeals court yesterday actually ruled that President Trump cannot invoke the Alien Enemies Act to swiftly deport alleged Venezuela gang members. It's pretty stunning when you think about this, but what's your response to all that from your legal background?
I'll be clear. This was not a total loss for the administration. They affirmed his power to deport. They affirmed a 7-day window is plenty of due process afforded to the people being deported. I do disagree with the split majority, the 2 out of 3. They said that these illegal alien criminals are not part of a predatory incursion or an invasion, and I strongly disagree with that. I do agree with the dissenting opinion that said this should be in the executive branch alone. The president has the authority. He used it appropriately. And my suspicion is it'll be overturned by the Supreme Court. But again, I agree with the dissent in this case.
Congressman Brad Knott of North Carolina, always great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. We deeply appreciate it.
Thank you, Jody.